Welcome to Dog on the Plot. We are on the plot. I have a dog. She's behind me eating grass. And I'm just here for one quick job because I'm off out this afternoon. I'm going to take you with me. But what I would really like to do before I go is get out my second early potatoes. Where have they gone? Here they are. Oh, also got New Gardener's World magazine. Okay, found them. Here are my second early potatoes. These are Charlotte variety, and they've been chitting on the windowsill now for goodness knows how long. It feels like forever. So it's nice to finally get some space on my windowsill. Obviously, the main crop is still on there. First earlies are already in, so second earlies are going in now, and I have 12. I have 12 potatoes. And I want to do these just like I did the first earlies, which is a no-dig method where you put the potatoes directly onto the bed and then pile on wood chip and grass clippings to earth them up, and then the roots go down into the soil and the potatoes grow out into the wood chip. That's the idea. This is an experiment for this year. I've done it with the first earlies. I'm now going to do it with the second, and I'm going to find a spot on the plot. I think I might put them over here. So this is the mess that is the front of my plot at the moment. But this is where I put in some field beans, and they are coming up lovely now. Look at them alongside weeds, but the field beans are looking good. But the field beans go all the way to the back of this tunnel, and I can keep the ones back there that are around the brassicas. But these ones, I think I am ready to use as green manure now and put the potatoes directly on top of them. I do need to move, though, that Austerian tree cabbage in the middle. And here are the first earlies that went in. And it might look like there is no sign yet, but if we come down here, you can see the red Duke of York are just starting to peep out. And I did see further along, and this will be either the Orla variety. Yes, I think this is the Orla variety. There we go. It's just starting to peep through. And actually this has sunk a lot since I did this bed. So it's still quite heaped, but definitely I would say it has sunk since I first did this. But I don't think I will be earthing them up because they are first earlies, and you don't really need to earth up first earlies. So hopefully they're going to be fine in the amount of wood chip that's there. Right, I've got one bag of wood chip left, and that's what I'm going to put on for these potatoes. Right, finish my cup of tea and let's crack on. So I think I could just pile the wood chip directly onto the broad beans. Sorry, field beans. I keep saying broad beans. But I'm just going to chop them off at the base and then just tear them up so that they start releasing all that nitrogen, all that goodness that is their job. That's what they're here to do. Oh, smells good. So just spaced the potatoes out. That seems fine to me. Again, these are second early, so they don't need huge amounts of room. I'm just going to make a little indent so that they are sitting with their chits up. Okay, like that. And now that they're positioned, I can start topping up the bed. So I think we'll start with some of the rabbit bedding, since it's right here, and then I've got the wood chip on the other side to bring over. Well, many hands make light work. That was really sweet of my plot neighbour Jim and his son to come over and give me a hand there. They saw me with that bag for life and thought, what is this girl doing? I had forgotten my trug and the wheelbarrow still needs a new tyre on it. Anyway, they helped and that has saved me about an hour, which is good because we're already late. We're already late, Dory. We're going out this afternoon. Where are we going to go? You're coming. Okay, so we'll head home for lunch and then I'll see you in a little bit for our trip. So that was the 1620s House and Gardens and their plant sale, and it was lovely. It was a really nice little interlude in the day. Obviously I didn't come back empty-handed. There was a stall there that was all unusual edibles and the guy was really knowledgeable, and I mean I had a lot of what he had on sale because I'm into unusual edibles, but there were a few things I didn't have that I wanted to add to my collection. One of which is this. It is another perennial kale. So this one is a bit different to my Taunton Dean. So first of all, it is the Daubenton's perennial kale, but it's also crossed with a flowering purple broccoli, a late flowering purple broccoli. Now, I haven't had much luck with my purple sprouting broccoli because they germinated, I grew them on, they never did get into the ground. But this would be great if it's a perennial one and I don't have to worry about that then. So I was really pleased with that plant. Then the other one is another kale, and although this is also labelled as perennial, it's a garlic kale. I don't think it is perennial, and in fact it does seem to be going to flower a little bit. So I've took the flowering stalk from the middle, and hopefully it will get a little bit longer on that particular kale. But he did give it me for a bargain price because he too thought that it probably wasn't actually perennial. But if you have a garlic kale or you know about garlic kale, let me know. So clearly I like anything that's kale or garlic. So this one is a garlic chive. Now it doesn't look anything like chive. In fact, it looks like sage really. But yeah, it's a garlic chive and it tastes garlicky. So if I take a little leaf there. It's actually really, really strong. So yeah, quite happy with that. So while we're talking kales and brassicas and things, I realised that I have massively oversown on brassicas again. So this is the problem that I had last year, and why the purple sprouting broccoli didn't get out is because I oversowed, I got overwhelmed, I couldn't find places to put them, and then they ended up just sitting in their pots the entire winter and dying. So I'm doing the same again this year. I have some quite nice things actually. So I've got my normal kales here. So I've got Cavallonera, I've got Black Magic kale, which didn't germinate very well last year. So it's nice to have some of those this year. That's another kale, that's KX1, which is a F1 variety. But then I've got my 9-star broccoli, and this one I'm really excited about. And so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plants of that. probably don't need 6 9-star broccolis, but can pass them along. And I think that's what's going to happen with quite a lot of these brassicas. We have an allotment plant sale, so I can always pass them along. These ones are green sprouting broccoli, and I have several trays of those. I have also this one, which is golden acre cabbage, because if you remember, the mouse ate my cabbages, but I did think that they could potentially come back, and they have. So the mice didn't eat the centres, and they are coming back. So yeah, we'll keep hopeful for the cabbages. And then this is one of 3 trays which has both the green sprouting broccoli and purple sprouting broccoli in. So yeah, that's a lot of brassicas, but they're all very tiny at the moment, and we'll see what pulls through. Better to have too many than too few. Now, also on the theme of brassicas, you'll remember that I took cuttings. You won't remember. Look at me assuming. I hope you remember that we took cuttings from the Taunton Dean kale that was out in the front garden. In part because the one on my plot has been completely eaten by pigeons. I'm hoping it will recover, but we'll see. And I have got one in the back garden as well. But I also wanted to test how to propagate from the perennial kale, because I do want to send some out to Ali and Trish at the Right Hair plot. So we did the kale in 2 ways. So this first way was doing short cuttings, so little sprouting bits off of the kale I cut down a little bit, and you know what? They're fine. They're fine. I can see roots in there. I can see new growth. I think they're going to be okay. Now, the other ones we did were longer cuttings. So these were in longer pots, and the cuttings themselves were long stalks, so there were plenty more nodes for the roots to grow out of. And if I tip this up, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the screen, but there are roots just coming through. So that has also rooted and is fine, and there's new growth in the middle there. So I'm really pleased, and I actually think for sending in the post, definitely doing the longer cuttings will be better. So the short cuttings have worked. I wouldn't say quite as successfully as these long ones, but yeah, really pleased with that. I gave my cousin one for her birthday yesterday. So while we're assessing the successes or not of various experiments, I thought I'd give you an update on the snake beans. So if you remember, we sowed these snake beans that are actually a type of gourd. They produce a really long bean looking squash that then you can either eat young or you can cure, and you eat the pulp from inside the gourd. We sowed these in these little pots. So there we go. There's a couple of snake beans, and you will notice there's nothing there. They did not germinate. Now, they're not still in there actually. I dug them out because what I thought I'd do was give those seeds another chance and put them in a Tupperware container in, well, not kitchen roll, but you could use kitchen roll. I've used old bit of cotton napkin. And super excitingly, some have now germinated. So that's the best one. There we go. I keep putting it that way, but it's actually that way because that's the root. So they're now ready to go back into these pots, and hopefully we'll then get a shoot out of the other side. But yeah, that's super exciting. What I have noticed as well, and which is really useful information, is I know the end that the root is coming from, and it's the pointy end. So if you remember when we were looking at these before, we were going to do the same thing that we did with the loofah, which is just clip the ends with some nail scissors or something to give the root an extra chance to come out. Now I know that this pointy end is the end to clip. So there are 3 here that have yet to germinate. So I'm going to clip those, and then I'm going to keep those in the paper. These 3 that have, I'm now going to put back into their pots, and hopefully we are going to have snake beans this year. Now, another experiment that we've been doing, of course, is the compost trials, and I have some results on those.
So I think you're going to find these results super interesting. If you remember, we had 6 different types of compost and we sowed peas into them. So they're peas for shoots. Now my plot neighbour, Jim, he told me, well, peas will grow in anything. And I was like, thanks, Jim. But apparently they do not, and they grow better in some things than other things. So I think what we'll do is go in reverse order. So we'll go to the worst first. And I'm really sorry, Mark, and I'm sorry to my cousin Becky, because they both bought this compost. So this is a bulk compost, green waste compost, organic and peat free and full of wood, but I did sieve it, and I'm afraid that's the germination on the peas for that compost. Pretty poor. It looked pretty good when I put it in the pot, and actually I was like, this looks surprisingly good compost, and it held the water well, but maybe too well. I think perhaps the peas even rotted in there. So I think some might still come up, but that is definitely by far the worst. In second to last place, also I think quite surprising, is the low peat. So this was Jack's Magic. And I got it as a split bag because I wouldn't normally buy peat. But yeah, it was a low peat compost. And although that's quite okay germination, certainly, yeah, it's at the lower end of the scale. But these actually are getting a bit too much of a muchness. So the next 2, which I would say are in joint place, is the silver and plant grow. So these are the 2 that we have been trialing against one another using the onion seed and the spring onions. And the plant grow had an edge, certainly at the start, but they've kind of leveled out at this point. In terms of that, I mean, I don't know if you can tell much difference. That one's the plant grow, that one's the silver grow. Much of a muchness to me. Okay, so they get joint last third or first third because they're in the middle. Second place then, this is an interesting one. So this is the homemade compost. So I think that is just a little better than that in terms of germination. There seems to be more germination, although they're perhaps a little bit taller. And this is the homemade compost from the garden. So actually I'm really pleased that that has produced a good result. Now the interesting thing about it, of course, is that you don't just get peas with homemade compost. So there's some little weeds coming up in the middle, but this one on the edge, can you see that? Just there. Can you see how it's a little bit pink in the middle? That's going to be a tree spinach. And I have been finding tree spinaches everywhere. So I'll be picking those out and trying to maybe put them in better places than just in the middle of everything. Because, yeah, we had a riot of tree spinach last year, didn't we? Anyway, first place. So if you know the compost trial, you'll have deduced this. If not, first place is the compost that I got delivered to the plot. So I think that... So let's compare it to the homemade. I think that is the best in terms of germination. And so this is, again, a bulk compost, organic, peat-free, delivered to the plot, like chucked off a lorry. And my plot neighbour again, Jim, wasn't too impressed with it. He was like, looks like the soil conditioner stuff, like spent mushroom compost kind of thing. But the guy who brought this, he really sold it to me, and he said he knows people who've got nurseries and they only use this compost and things. And I thought it was all a bit of a sales patter, but you know what? Proof is in the pudding. There's the results. So I'm so relieved. I'm really thankful, because it was 160 quid to have that delivered to the plot, and I'm really pleased that it's good stuff, and it's not going to kill all my plants, hopefully. So there they are on the floating shelf. They've been on the floating shelf the whole time that they've been growing, so there was no variable in terms of mouse damage or slug damage or anything like that. They were protected, so it's a true experiment, I guess, and really good result for me. Lastly, this hanging basket, I grew the remaining peas in here in the remaining compost. So this is actually a mix of all 6 of the compost. It was all the bits that were left over after I'd done the pots for the experiment. And you can see that the peas have grown lovely in here with no problem whatsoever. So I think all is not lost in terms of the compost that Mark and my cousin got, because they can just mix it with some other stuff and it should be fine. And behind this is my next lot of peas in the guttering. So we've got Hearst Green Shaft, which are quite low pea, spotty germination on that one, lovely germination on this one, which is Onward. And then the one at the end here is the Azetus, which I sowed before and did really well. So I did that one again, and look, they are ready to go out. But I think I would just leave it a little bit longer, because you do want a good root system going under the guttering in order that they slide out well. I'm saying this as an expert now, of course, because I had such success gliding out. It could have been a fluke. We're going to test it again with this one. Now, talking of those peas that came out really well, let's just check on those in the raised bed. So they're under here because they have been severely munched, I assume by slugs. So all is not lost. These ones are okay. These are the early onward. I think it was the Azetus, oh no, Meteor at the end and Azetus here in the middle. But yeah, I mean, that's really quite disappointing. I'm hoping that they'll recover, which is why I've got the netting over them now. I've also protected my Taunton kale, she says, look at these holes, underneath these cages, which I thought the peas could then grow up as well. But we'll see. We'll see if they recover and produce any peas. And speaking of potential disasters, I want to show you this. So you remember last week we put the broad beans into this bed, and I put them directly in this mulch. So it's a soil conditioner. Now, none of you seem too worried, but I was worried that this would burn the plants or just be too strong for the plants, and that they would all keel over. So this is a story of success, because look, they all look great. I'm so pleased. Now, I have been covering these because it has been quite cold overnight this week, and we've still got another couple of days where we're going to have cold nights. So I've been fleecing everything. So the carrots have been being fleeced. The parsnips, check this out. How is that for a row of parsnips? And that's just one. There's some more coming up over here. There we go. And some more in this row, just starting to come up as well. So that's brilliant, because I had rather given up hope on those parsnips, but they just needed a bit of time and they're coming through. But now I'm protecting them. So the parsnips, the carrots, the broad beans, they're all getting fleeced tonight, and the first early potatoes that I've got in buckets at the end of the garden as well. So yeah, still a bit of weather to come, but after that it's looking good. It's looking like things are going to warm up, and here are all the signs of spring around. We've got the lilac there, got the apple tree blossom at the back behind me. So yeah, it's exciting times ahead. You have a good week. Take care.